Morning guys, Moorhuhn here. Today I want to talk about my Flicker Striker before I get into the real endgame, which will be very expensive gearing. So let's take a look. I am playing Flicker Strike and have been playing Flicker Strike from level 58 onwards, so from the very point of where it was possible to sustain the charges. Flicker Strike has been a blast and has been real fun because it just destroys the game, and it destroys the game in a version or in a way that I have not been able to on other characters yet. And a lot of people have been looking at Flicker Strike and were like, well, this is pretty shit because we cannot generate charges while using Flicker. This pretty much deletes the skill from the game and it is dead. And I have to say, no, it's not. It's very, 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 very far from dead. Flicker Strike is thriving and it's really good. You just have to, well, go with a few workarounds. And the first big workaround we are using is playing Gemling Legionnaire. Gemling Legionnaire gives up to 16, currently we are using 14% quality from the Gemling Legionnaire, and the perpetual charge support gem together with the 20 quality from Flicker Strike to give us 69% chance not to remove charges when flickering. This can be further increased by 5% to 74% by getting 23 quality on the gem and by picking a small ascendancy node instead of a big one on the Legionnaire, though I do kind of need the reduced mana cost, right? The other big workaround for the charges is a buff that I currently am not using, which is the dodge roll thingy, which when you stop flickering you just dodge roll away, and in maps oftentimes your illusion just gets destroyed instantly and you get charges back, but I have not played with that a lot lately because I was fine with my generation. I might do that more because we are going harder into breach farming now, and there it is important to always have charges. And the other way is with the ritual that I will show later on in the video where I go over the character, but we can generate a lot of charges fairly quickly to pretty much always keep flickering when there's enemies around. But less of the technical stuff and more of how do we play this character, how do we gain the damage we are looking at. Well, the damage you are looking at actually is a dumbed down version of the damage, but I'll talk about that in a moment. The thing that we are using with this character is, well, kind of state of the art. We are strength stacking. We focus on strength and dexterity, more on strength than dexterity, and we completely ignore intelligence. This is somewhat unusual for the stackers currently because they are playing with Hand of Wisdom and Action, which we are not, because I do not think it is as good as people give it credit to. I don't think it is actually the best in slot glove piece for the stackers, especially when we ignore AoE as much as we do on this character, because, well, we just don't need the AoE. There's a variant and I played with it a lot, and we will see a video of me doing it also with a cold variant where we play with the Herald of Ice. And Herald of Ice gives the build even better clear, like a tremendous amount of better clear, especially in breaches, but it can feel somewhat weird because sometimes it explodes so many enemies that you just stop flickering because there's nothing in range. And I liked the feeling of always flickering, so yeah, I'm staying without that for now. I might test around with it, but yeah, it's a different version of the build and we will look into it, but not here. Here we just take a look at the base character with just the bare minimum of what you want to do. Then some people might say, well, your character already is pretty damn expensive because you're running an Adorned setup with a lot of jewels, and Adorns right now sit at like 60 divines plus, and I say, yes, but for the showcase I didn't even have Adorned equipped, so this is just a character with a very, very scuffed tree that doesn't really use any nodes. So we're just picking up strength here, and the character grows a lot stronger when putting in the Adorned. Though even with the Adorned, my jewels aren't really great. Most of these do either not have a good implicit or do only have one mod plus the implicit. So this character is very, very, very far from actually utilizing Adorned very well. I just use it because I do have it, and we're working on making it better and better and getting the character to a point where it's absolutely disgusting. The boss in the video you've seen also is fairly strange because it spawns so many ads far away that we just flicker away from him. I have quite a few clips you can see in my short section of the channel where I just destroy 7 million HP bosses in split seconds. So this character is quite absurd, and well, with that said, let's take a closer look. The gear, of course, is a Pillar of the Caged God, and this one is more or less my leveling variant of the staff. I do also have one that is socketed with critical strike multiplier, though my critical strike chance currently only sits at like 35% or something, 36, and I didn't really want to put it in yet, because technically it would increase my damage, especially with my touch staff buff up. There we go, let's see, from 104 million to 110 million, but currently with the critical strike chance I do have, I do not want to go for this. So I'm just using a flat damage Pillar of the Caged God, and I do think the perfect Pillar of the Caged God would be a double corrupted one, with 12 weapon damage and 3 sockets, but I do think 12 weapon damage and 2 sockets already is better than this variant, so you might want to go for that if you do have the currency. Then for the body armor slot, we are using just a piece with a lot of life and stats and some resistances. Here you can go for the Titan Rod Cataphract, where you do want a better increased strength and worse or better reduced dexterity roll. So like 23/7 is very, very good. Though I did feel like it didn't give me as much as I wanted, because I lose 70 dexterity to gain like 90 strength, but we do also lose resistances from the body armor, and we lose a lot of life and stuff. Actually, here we do gain life, but last time I tested, but it was worse, but we've got more strength due to a new amulet. But generally, this is an option that works, but I'd say is not ideal when you have very, very good body armors, and this one isn't even that good. We could have a way better body armor here. So there's a lot of options aside from the Titan Rod, but if you hit like 700 strength and do not have as much dexterity, Titan Rod is a very, very good option for the character. Then with the gloves, we want flat damage, we want plus level 2 skills, dexterity or strength, and resistances. You can also go dexterity and strength and plus 2 level of skills and flat damage and just forgo the resistances, but you need some piece with resistances on. For me, this is the belt, where I just have all the resistances I want on one piece with this resistance corruption also. So this piece just gives me a lot of resistances. Then we have the boots, where I do currently have a socket open, which might be socketed with chaos resistance soon, but I'm not sure about that yet. Then for the helmet, we use a Black Sun Crest. Having it with +1 power charge is fairly good, and I would recommend it because power charges scale the build very well, especially with charge staff, and I do not really have the resources to go for all the power charges on the tree because, well, jewel sockets are just more useful to me. If you are not playing a Daunt, you would go for both power charges here and just go for more crit scaling or, well, just more strength in general. The rings are pretty much the key pieces of the build. You want breach rings with a lot of attack modifiers or a lot of attribute modifiers. So for this one, I have my leech in there, which isn't really that good, I feel, but it's okay. And on the other one, I just do have more attributes and resistances and, well, yeah, it's more flat damage. These rings are not perfect, but they are very, very good already. In the very, very end game, you probably would want very, very good breach rings with a lot of attack modifiers, and then the build that increases the stats of your rings. That said, let's take a closer look at the passive tree, because even though I do play a Dawn, there's a lot of stuff you might want to look for. First of all, you want the big strength and the big dexterity cluster, of course, and you probably do not want Titanic, even though it does give % strength. You need to go through 3 dead nodes, which might just not be worth the % strength here. If you are not playing a Daunt and travel here anyways to pick something up, I don't know, then it might be strength, it might be worth. I did not do the math, but I did want to get up to the power charges, which were way more important to me. You do want the dexterity here, and for here it's very, very important to say you cannot pick this node up with your weapon passive tree because it is currently bugged, it seems, and does not give any increase if we just go with it with the weapon tree. So we put out this, and then I say weapon tree 1, give me attack speed. It does not. So we need to use the normal points for this node so that it works. The other nodes do seem to work, so I have no issue with that. Oh, I just realized I should picking this up. Let me quickly this here. Oh, come on, don't say it. Okay, I will need to make some changes. These nodes are very, very good, and you want to get them. And these nodes are also one with the storm. I'm not sure if this is bugged or intended, but quarterstaff skills that consume power charges, counters consuming an additional power charge, does not work right now as one would think. This might also be a problem with the weapon set, I just realized, and I will try around with that, but I do not think it is because I have had the node before. Because right now, when we are, let's say we have, goddamn, now I fucked this up. To re-enter some. The problem is right now that when I have one charge, I could just test it with one charge and would have worked. The charges now I'm using, and it goes to 4. However, my maximum currently is 6. And when I use it now, it goes to 6 and not to 7. So while it does increase the amount you're getting while you're not on full charges, it does not when you are on full charges. So I'm not sure if this is intended or bugged, but that is the interaction that is in the game right now. So be aware of that. Then Willing Assault does a lot of attack speed, worth a lot of dexterity when you convert the nodes. So very, very good node here. What you definitely want is overflowing power because it gives +2 power charges. You just do not want to not use it. And well, here is a ton of critical damage bonus. So you do definitely want this as well. So these just are too good not to take. The other two nodes both are not as good. However, the 40% increased power charge duration is pretty good. And as I said, if you're not playing a Dawn, this is very, very worth it, this node. This one is not as good because it just doesn't give good nodes beforehand. So these very strong because power charge duration is something that can be annoying at times also. Aside from that, the tree is very, very uninteresting, and well, I want to pick these next with the next levels, but that has, well, it's coming, and then we're just going for more jewel sockets, probably more of the same. But yeah, let's take a look at the Gemling Legionnaire. Here, the most important stuff is the quality stuff and the strength stacking stuff, because here we are gaining double bonus from strength, intelligence, and dexterity, which gives us a lot of accuracy, so that we pretty much don't have to care about accuracy at all, and give a lot of health. When we take a look at my health pool and put this away, I am gaining 2000 health from just this node. So you cannot skip this. It's just too good when stacking strengths. And then I currently am using advanced thaumaturgy because we do not care about the attribute requirements, but well, the skill is fairly expensive and I do not have a lot of mana. So if I get better gear with, let's say, mana and life in the boot prefixes and mana in the amulet prefix instead of like evasion or something, then you would probably be able to drop advanced thaumaturgy and go for either quality 2 times or +1 skills, though this does make it more expensive also. So the difference between having advanced thaumaturgy and implanted gems is like 40% more cost. So very, very expensive, and you might just not be able to pay the mana cost, especially when running with the anointment Vulgar Methods. Vulgar Methods is extremely good. It gives 10 strength and 35% increased critical strike chance, which is pretty much the best critical strike node on the entire tree. It's even better than a boosted Juvel by Adorned. So this is just insanely good value. It does, however, reduce our strength and reduce our mana by 10% also, which doesn't really make the mana issue easier to solve. So you might have to run with Advanced Thaumaturgy, especially when running a level 20 gem, and I'm not even doing that. I'm running a level 19 Flicker Strike. So I do run a 6-link, but I do also have taken out support gems that were too expensive. Like I was running with Close Combat before, but it does have a 140% cost multiplier, so I swapped it out with Lightning Infusion from my charge staff. So it's just very, very expensive to run this stuff, and well, you need some kind of mana. This is probably the biggest downside of not stacking any intelligence. This would be fixed running an Astra Mantis, though those are 100 divines, so you wouldn't call that a fix really. You might be able to fix it also with a mana roll on one of your rings, and then the belt that increases the rolls. But there is some ideas to fix it, but currently it's just very difficult to get the mana right. Then let's take a look at the gem setups I currently am using. I'm running Flicker Strike with Perpetual Charge, Momentum, Lightning Infusion, Concentrated Effect, and Primal Armament. I would socket them in this order as well, aside from probably Lightning Infusion and Primal Armament swapped, or Close Combat in there if you do have the mana for that, because Lightning Infusion is not as good. When we take a look, goes down to 61, and here it goes down to 59, so Primal Armament is a bit better. However, or not however, but this is even more accelerated if you are not running so lightning based rings and stuff, because it just reduces the effectiveness of your added cold modifiers, which I do not have as many anymore. But if you're running the a bit more cold focus variant, you do not want to run Lightning Infusion and would just drop it before going for the 6-link and then use Combat instead. Then we're running Tempest Bell with Rage, Overpower, Magnifying Field in front of Rage. I personally am not very happy with this setup and, well, iterating this daily multiple times. So Tempest Bell is something you have to play around with a little. I'm not even sure if I want to use it at all, because sometimes I feel like it reduces my damage and does not increase it because I'm hitting the boss less and the bell more. So I'm not sure if this setup actually is very good. You will have to test it out. Charge Staff. Again, in this order: Persistence, Close Combat, or another damage. Overcharge and Conduction for very, very big shocks. I had Electrocute and Innervate in here, so these were swapped for bossing, because I wanted these to just electrocute the bosses. For breaches, though, I do like to have an AoE Electrocute on the Herald of Thunder. Also, I feel like even with the shock bonuses, my Flicker Strike does inflict the highest shock anyways, because it hits so extremely hard. Or often, but I actually know that that's not how it works. I mean, both shock and electrocute are good. I'm still confusing sometimes how elements work in POE2 now, so generally, but this setup goes for bigger shocks. But what you could also do is put the shock into the Tempest Bell and the electrocute into the charge staff for a single target, or put the electrocute in the bell and the shock on the charge staff, whatever you like. Then one of the most important pieces of the character is the Profane Ritual, with Profusion to grant more charges, Arcane Tempo for more cast speed, Unleash for, well, more casts, and Mobility to have less of a movement speed penalty when using. Then we are running a Berserk setup with Precision, Cannibalism, and Herbalism. Precision and Herbalism are pretty much dead, but I did have the mana, so I used them. And Cannibalism can be dropped if you have a Juvel with 2% life recover on kill. I do currently not have one because I am running Herbalism, so I do use better Juvels. However, you might want the setup or might not. I am not sure if I do want it. It does make Rage much, much, much better. but I do feel like I'm not really generating enough rage with the Tempest Bell, so I'm not sure if I do like the setup at all. Then the other very, very important setup is my weapon swap Skeletal Warrior Sacrifice setup, which is paired with a Spirit Scepter that gives 200 Spirit, and a wand that gives a lot of cast speed, high cast speed roll, and cast speed corruption to just cast the Profane Ritual very quickly and not just sit there and be like, ooh, give me charges, give me charges, give me charges. We don't want that. We want very fast charges. So you want a lot of cast speed on your wand there. Then we run Battle Warriors. These just have to be up in 2, and Sacrifice. These have to be up in 2 as well to make us able to pull the charges out of our skeletons to have them for boss fights and stuff. Otherwise, you would have to have corpses around for the charges, which does not really work in boss fights. So this is an extremely important weapon swap, which I did explain in a shorter video earlier, but I wanted to go over it again because it's extremely important to have. Well, as you see, I do have one more slot open, and there was Herald of Ice for quite a while, and if you are running the Herald of Ice setup, you would probably want to have Ambush and Cult Penetration and Execute in there just to chain explode together with the Pulse Circle Ring. But the Pulse Circle Ring does take away a lot of damage of the character, though for clearing it still might be better even in high tier maps if your gear allows to drop so much damage. This ring is extremely good because, well, Herald of Ice with the interaction is extremely broken, and Ambush for Herald of Ice works really well because it hits in a large radius to just execute enemies instantly that are on full life. So it's very, very, very strong, and I would probably advise to use it. I have used it for a long time and had a very, very good time with it, though currently I am testing the version without it. I do think this is pretty much everything I want to talk about for today. We will go over the character a couple more times with more upgrade and some changes we're doing. So I say thanks for watching for now. Have a good Christmas and see you on the next one.